These are some of the most expensive ivory pieces ever made. They're exposed in New York City at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Some of them are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and antique pieces can be sold for way more than that. In fact, the ivory trade market is valued at about $23 billion annually, and the going rate for 1 pound of ivory is about $1,500. But this same trade is also one of the worst sources of animal cruelty in the entire world. The poaching of tens of thousands of elephants. Every year, this activity causes the death of about 20,000 African elephants. But first, what is ivory anyway, and what makes it so special? Well, to put it simply, it's a white material from tusk and teeth, mostly made of dentine that grows on lots of animals, among which are walruses, rhinos, whale, narwhals, etc. Technically, any mammalian teeth or tusk can be considered as ivory, because they're all made of the same structure, but the term ivory is mostly used when referring to elephants. Especially African elephants, as their tusks are a bit more imposing than their Asian counterparts. Those tusks can get really massive, averaging about 2 meters in length, 10 centimeters in diameter, and they weigh about 20 kilos each. So you shouldn't be surprised to learn that African elephants account for the majority of the ivory trade market worldwide. Especially considering the fact that their tusks are large and soft enough to be easily turned into beautiful sculptures and jewelry. But why is ivory so expensive in the first place? Well, for starters, the trade of elephant ivory is illegal in many major countries and regions, including the US, the UK, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, and a few other ones. This makes ivory rarer, thus more expensive in those regions, because even though it's illegal, there's still a very high demand for it, especially in China. So there's a whole network of paths that traffickers take from the surrounding countries to sneak ivory into the country without getting caught. But the main reason why ivory is so expensive is that there's a limited supply of elephants. According to the Worldwide Fund for Nature, a non-profit that has the goal to reduce the human impact on nature, there were only 415,000 elephants left across the entirety of Africa. That may sound like a lot, but it's actually frightening considering the fact that a century ago, in the 1930s, there were more than 10 million of them in the wild. The main reasons for this massive reduction are, of course, the loss of habitat, but mostly the poaching. You might be asking yourself, do poachers necessarily need to kill the elephants to get the tusk and the ivory? Well, not necessarily. They could sedate them and cut the outside part of the tusks. But in doing so, they would lose a lot in efficiency, and the amount of ivory they would get at the end would be much smaller. Because about 1/3 of an elephant's tusk is embedded inside its skull, so they usually just shoot the animal down and then proceed to carve out the entire ivory piece out of the skull, leaving horribly damaged elephant heads behind them. But this way of doing things is clearly not sustainable, as elephants takes a very long time to reproduce. First, the pregnancy lasts 22 months, which is the longest gestation period for any mammal. They only reach maturity after 12 years, and for some of them, it's a bit more than that. And females can only conceive for a short period of time. Also, they only carry one calf at a time, so this whole traffic industry is clearly endangering one of the most interesting animals on the planet. Obviously, governments have now started to realize how big the problem really is, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, many countries have already made ivory trade illegal. But this activity still has a lot of popularity, especially in Asia, where ivory can be seen as a very good investment as it usually keeps its value very well over time. And obviously, having lots of it can be a very good way to show off your money. One good sign is that people are definitely becoming more aware of the problem, as the value of ivory is slowly lowering. And hopefully in a couple of years, this trade won't even exist anymore. Or at least it will almost be insignificant. So thanks for watching the video and consider subscribing.